Oh boy, and what a day it's been.
What a day it has been. How
What have you been up to?
I'll be honest, I'm doing video game book club, right, with my friends in group 1. I've told you about this, right?
Yeah, video game
Yeah,
book
video
club where
game
you
book
play the
club
video
where
game.
you play a video game and then you talk about it like it's a book. There are no books involved in this book club. Um
Yeah.
so
Why don't
we're
you just call it video game club?
that doesn't have the same ring to it. Doesn't quite, ring true, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, neither does video game book club because there's no books.
Okay, well, okay. Maybe if you want to criticize it so much, you should.
Why don't you marry it?
Yeah, exactly. So I basically spent the first 3 hours of my day finishing the game because we're meeting tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
We're playing High on Life. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Hold on.
Holding.
No.
Wow, I never could have guessed that would be the answer based on the long pause and the clicking of your
No.
keyboard. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, never heard of this.
Yeah.
This looks like some Earthworm Jim shit for some reason.
It So for context, it is by the makers of Rick and Morty.
Oh
Yeah, that
God.
was all you needed to know. That was all you needed to hear.
Oh,
And it plays like it's made by the creators of Rick and Morty.
that's great.
Yeah. So, the best thing I can say about the game is it is concise. Um, the whole game I finished it in 8 hours. It is
Yo,
beautiful. Um,
that's my favorite part of the game
it,
when it ended.
when it ended, literally, oh my god, I could go off on this game, which is funny because
Oh, please do.
I'm gonna
I'm
give it
giving
a
you I'm
I'm
giving you practice for tomorrow.
Oh, sure. That's fair. Yeah, it's funny because I'm gonna give it a 6, I think, but like I have so
Hmm.
many negative things to say. Like, there's a lot of things about the game that I think are like okay and good, but like the most important part of the game, like the boss fights, all suck ass. Like
Oh, that's annoying.
every boss fight just feels more annoying and tedious than it feels like difficult or challenging in like a fun way, if
Right.
that makes sense. So like the boss fights feel tedious. Getting from location to location feels tedious because one of the lore and game mechanics is you're fighting aliens that all have warp cores. So you'll just be in a place and they'll all warp in, and now you're fighting a bunch of aliens.
Hmm.
Enemy variety sucks because you're fighting just one alien faction the whole time and they all basically work the same. There's like
Uh-huh.
maybe 4 or 5 different types of enemies, but they all suck. Uh Dialogue and the story is like, I think, hit or miss. I think if you really, really like Rick and Morty, maybe you'll like it. Again, it's really funny because I like woke up today. I'm like, I don't want to play this game. Like, I don't want to play it. Like, I can play it. It's not that painful to play. Like, it went by pretty quickly, but it's just like, I don't want to.
Hmm. Man, you woke up and you clocked in.
Yeah. Do you think I should give it a 5?
I don't know, man. You told me everything you told me about the game was that you didn't like things. You didn't tell me a single thing you liked about the game, other than the fact that it was short.
Dude, it was so I wish more games were like this. I feel like it's
Oh, okay.
so like there's no bullshit. Like all the bullshit is really opt in. Like
Mm.
you play a mission, you get to a place, you fight a guy, you do a boss fight, you kill him, done. There's a little bit of story, whatever. Like it's pretty concise,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Maybe if I like really liked the game, I'd be like, oh, why is there so little of it?
Yeah, I don't. I think. See, if you had said like, "Oh, I like how they nailed the ending," where it's like, "I like how they wrapped everything up."
Oh, the
That's
ending
a
was shit too.
different. See, that's a different vibe than the game was short.
Yeah, yeah. No, the game was short and concise and to the point.
I mean, the way you talked about the game mechanics, it seemed like those overstayed their welcome.
Yeah, I mean,
So we're going with a two.
okay, well, okay, you're no, no, no. The game, like the graphics are like pretty reasonable. Like the game looks okay. I think like movement feels okay, but like it doesn't translate well into boss fights at all. Um,
Right. That's truly unfortunate.
God, yeah. I mean, it's like it's funny because I don't feel that negatively when I play. I think I should give it a 5 because when I play it, I'm like, this is perfectly neutral. Like, it's not horrible to play.
I
It's
don't
just,
know, man. I feel like it's more of a 4 if you didn't want to play it, right?
I don't
Like
know
a 5-6 game is
how
one that you're like,
how.
okay, I'm coming home. I need to turn off my brain. What can I do?
Can I ask you
Oh,
a
I'll just
question?
do. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. How what would you rate the eggs at Pines, Luke?
Oh no. Oh no. See, there's a bit of a look. I think in my mind, a
Yeah.
1 to 10 scale is
Okay.
perfectly like linear, right?
Okay.
The eggs at Pines,
Yeah.
they're somewhere on like an exponential thing, right?
Wait. How are they on an exponential thing?
Well, wait, okay, maybe not, maybe not. Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding.
How do I explain this?
Yeah.
The eggs at Pines,
The eggs at
they
Pines.
weren't bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you went into video game cafe, right,
Yeah. Okay.
and you see like on the counter they have see, I've already forgotten the name of the game. If you
High
see
on
they have
life.
like
High on
high on
life.
life.
Okay.
They have
Yeah.
high on life, servings of high on life.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you still serve yourself the high on life, right? Do you still put it on your plate and then go back?
Uh. Do I like need to play a game? Like, do they have nothing else? Like,
No, they have other stuff. See, the eggs at Pines would always end up on my plate.
because there's no other eggs.
There's other protein options.
Like
They
what?
have like
Like, would I rather
sausages.
sit in a room doing nothing or play this game? Is kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Well, answer the question, Teva.
Oh god, nothing else in the room.
I don't know, man.
I'd probably play the game.
Hmm. See, the eggs at Pines are probably like a 7.
What the? You're actually that's the most unhinged thing I've heard in the last 24 hours.
Well, look, like you get lower than a 5 and it starts to become inedible.
But we have very different scales.
See, the 5 is right in the middle, right?
I know people like you, man. I know people like you. You're 1
People
to 10.
in the right.
People like you who say, "Oh yeah, on a scale from 1 to 10, it's this or that." But really, you just have a scale from 5 to 10. It's you. Nothing below 5 has any meaning.
If I had the eggs at Pines and then they gave me food poisoning, that would be a 2.
Yeah, 2. What? Not a 1.
Well, if it killed me,
How
then
bad
it would be
is
a 1.
It only gets a 1 if you can't actually rate it after.
Yeah, exactly. It's posthumous rating 1.
Oh my goodness.
That's how these things work.
I feel like generously, I'd give the eggs at Pines like a 5.
But, I mean, would you eat them again?
Like, if I had to for breakfast and they were free from dining dollars, yes. Like I got the eggs at Pines sometimes, usually like a small amount, but like I got them.
Would you play High on Life again?
Oh God, I hope to never.
See, I'm thinking it's more of a 4-3 right there.
I
You know?
can't believe you're convincing me to lower my rating so much.
I mean, let's be honest. Saying the graphics are good
Yeah,
is not really a super good. You know, that's not. It's not great.
You're so right, and it kind of hurts me how right you are.
No, it should comfort you knowing that your good friend is so right about things.
Dude, I feel like it's a me problem though. Like I don't know if it's fair to give it a 4 because I don't like it just
You
feels
said
like
literally a third of the group were haters on this game.
yeah, a third of the group are haters. Yeah,
I don't think it's unfair.
I just don't want to be a hater. I'm not hating on the game. It just feels so utterly neutral. But I guess
You didn't say a single positive thing other than the fact that it was over fast.
perhaps apathy is the sincerest form of hatred.
Ooh. Choosing not to care.
Yeah, that's kind of how the game makes me. The game doesn't make me feel a lot of things. Like that's the thing. Like the people who hate this game, like the game actively makes them angry or like mad or like they're
Okay, right. Yeah.
I'm just like, this game doesn't make me feel anything like special.
That seems even worse. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, maybe
art that evokes no feeling.
is well, I wouldn't call this game art, so
Oh. Tell that
uh,
to the games or art crowd, man.
yeah, I think games are definitely art. This one just isn't. It's like,
Like
yeah,
this one hardly qualifies as a game.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's got gameplay, but it's just so. I feel like it's such a competitive, space in the modern. Like,
Mm.
there's so many other things I could do with my time that even the like mere 8 hours this game asks of me, I'm like, dude, I'd rather not.
Dude, I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 lately,
Oh
like
my!
a unhealthy amount. Did I mention this last time?
You mentioned this before, yeah.
I feel like I've mentioned this many times.
You've
I'm
mentioned it
back
to
on the
me,
Fallout 4 horse.
dude. That's crazy. That's
It's
so funny.
it's funny because everyone, I don't want to say everyone. People who are fans of the Fallout franchise
Yeah,
tend to fall into two camps,
yeah.
with the divergence point being Fallout 4. There's people
Okay,
who like the style and storytelling of the older games.
right.
And then there's people who like the more or the style of storytelling, the RPG elements of the older games,
Okay,
particularly like Fallout 1, 2, 3, and New Vegas. Oh no,
okay,
Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas.
okay.
3 is a bit of a weird situation.
Gotcha.
And then there are people who like Fallout 4 and people who like Fallout 76,
Hmm.
which is another thing. And it's viewed as a different era
I
of
see.
what Fallout is. The lore is slightly different. There's like the way the games are is more of a focus on shooting.
Which which of the games is like the magic like collab? Like, how there's the Fallout like magic like commander decks, right? Or are you not as familiar with those?
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. All the
Oh,
different.
okay. So it's like a mix.
Yeah, Fallout 4 MTG. It's a mix of them. Let's see. There's New Vegas there.
Yeah.
There's Fallout 4 there. There's Fallout 3 there.
Okay.
There's
So it's
Fallout 76 there.
so it's
It's
got a
all the
blend.
first-person shooter
Gotcha.
ones mainly, and then I think there's some other characters that they use that are from 1 and 2. So it's from all over.
So it kind of, so four is on like one side of like this essentially like clash of like styles and Fallout, right?
Yeah,
Like,
this divergence. People, I don't know. People argue about whether or not it's truly a role-playing game because you
mm,
can't. There's fewer options for you to be evil. There are like factions in the game that are clearly designed to be like more bad. There's fewer things are more cut and dry morally in Fallout 4 than they
right.
are in like New Vegas, which is New Vegas is heralded as the best of the Fallout games
I see.
in many people's eyes. Thing is, I've never played anything other than 4,
Right. Okay.
and
Yeah.
I've also played a lot of 4. Um, yeah, it's interesting because 4 was the first game to introduce voice acting
Okay.
for
Yeah.
the main character. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
given like my main gripe with Fallout 4 is that there is voice acting for the main character because it does take away a lot of the aspects of like imagining how your character sounds.
That's
Um,
so
your
interesting.
character has like a basically depending on which of the two player characters you choose, whether you choose like the man or the woman, your character already has like a backstory. Like the man was a soldier, the woman was a lawyer,
Yeah.
and then the inciting incident is that your son is stolen and you have to go find your son.
And this is in
And
Fallout
because
4.
this is Fallout 4,
Okay.
because I'm kind of simplifying it. I'm
Yeah.
simplifying it a lot
Sure. I'm
because
sure.
the main characters have a voice actor. It's you can't really imagine yourself or like create a different person because that voice is already there.
Right.
And then making things more complicated is the voice options you're given when you're given the opportunity to pick what you're going to say.
Hmm.
They don't tell you what your character is going to say ahead of time.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. This makes sense to me. Like, it's the classic like, oh, react aggressively, and you like just straight up punch them and start a fight, and it's like, I didn't mean that aggressively, like that kind
yeah,
of energy. Yeah.
basically that kind of energy. Like the line will be like question,
Yeah.
and then you question them, and then your character comes off as an asshole, and you're like, I didn't mean it like that.
Okay, bro. You can
Um,
question them differently. Yeah, I
yeah,
think the
so
like Telltale games kind of have that problem too.
Yeah, well, the thing about like Fallout 4 being a divergence point is that Fallout 4 was the first game to not give you the whole dialogue
Oh.
option because it's going to be voice acted by someone. It just gives you a summary, which sometimes gives you the wrong impression of what you're going to be saying.
Mm.
So
Right, I see.
that's the part of the game that kind of gets me the most. But then it also leads to funny situations. Like
Such as, yeah.
there's this one quest um, where basically you're hired to do this job. You're told you're going to be digging underground and like robbing the stockpile of a neighboring town. Um, and you start in one town,
Okay.
which is called Good Neighbor, and the person who hires you is like, "Yeah, we're gonna go rob those people in Diamond City who think they're so much better than us."
Right, and they're
Because
called State Farm. It's like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
yeah, Good Neighbor is it's like the town of like the misfits. And
Okay.
then the mayor of Good Neighbor is this guy who's cast out, who was like cast out from Diamond City, and he brought all the other like misfits there to Good Neighbor, and it's more of like a like I wouldn't say anarchist, but more of like self determination. You know, there's not not like the purge, crime is legal, but like people do stuff that's kind of
Yeah.
shady. There's a lot of
Like
like
self-determination.
mercenaries, people who are like dealing drugs,
Okay.
stuff like that. It's more like edgy. And then it turns out at the end of the quest, instead of you robbing Diamond City,
Mm-hmm.
the person you're working for has actually made you tunnel into the stockroom of the mayor of Good Neighbor.
Okay.
And then depending on who you side with, whether you decide to go against the mayor of Good Neighbor or go against the person who hired you and lied to you,
Right.
there's a different outcome. Basically, the way that I went with it, I sided with the mayor of Good Neighbor because I
Right.
was like, "Hey, you lied to me. This wasn't the deal. This wasn't what I was getting paid to do." And so you get this quest marker. It's like Hancock, the mayor of Good Neighbor wants to talk to you. So you go and you talk to Hancock, and he's telling you like, "Yeah, I used to be one of those people down there in the streets before I was mayor. I have I gone soft? Have I started oppressing my own people? Is this really who I am? Is this who I've become? I'm no better than my brother, the mayor of Diamond City." And then the fallout, one of the options is like, forget exactly how it's worded, but it was like they can cock for his time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has this whole dialogue where he's like talking about like, who am I anymore? I feel like maybe I should go out there, experience life again. I'm having a crisis of character. So I pick the option that's like they Hancock, and your character goes, "Well, thanks, Hancock. See you around." And you just like
Dude,
walk away from the
bro.
conversation.
What?
After this man is like telling you his
Spilled
life
his heart
story,
out.
having a crisis of character.
Dude. Well,
Yeah.
they put that option in there because they're like, oh, if the players don't give a shit and just want to leave, it's like, this is what you pick. But it's
Just the
not.
line delivery was so funny.
That
Oh,
is
there's this
funny.
other time where there's a quest line in a different area of the game where you have to go confront cannibals because someone has gone missing.
Mm.
And so you go up to them. You had been following like a trail of blood, and you talk to the cannibals, and you're like, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy. Have you seen him?" And the cannibal's like, "Hey, we took care of him." And then one of the options is like cannibals ? And then the character's like, "You guys are cannibals? Ew!" And the cannibal's like, "Hey, that's not very nice."
Dude, what?
Essentially,
I feel
yeah.
like I feel like you kind
He
of
gets like embarrassed about it. He's like, "No, not cannibals."
dude. I feel like you secretly like the player voice acting.
Well, those were the two times that something has happened when I've been like, "Okay, this is kind of really funny."
Well, it's funny because it's such a mismatch, right? Like that's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I people say like, the trope, like, or not the trope, the saying like Valorant is a horror game, or like
Sure, yeah.
that. Fallout 4 is secretly a sitcom.
Dude. I mean, I could see it. I
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of funny because you mentioning that. It's like I feel like the gameplay is like totally different, but I think this is really similar to like what Baldur's Gate is for people. It's just more of a like, top down like strategy based game. Because it's very like
Mm-hmm.
similar. Like it's like choices matter, different outcomes can like shape the world in different ways. You
Yeah.
kind of go on quests. They're like these big quest chains. Like there's one where you're in like the underground or the underdark or whatever they call it, and like this woman's husband goes missing, and it turns out the reason he goes missing is because he wanders into like a field of explosive like plants. And and these are plants that if you get near them, they'll just like explode. So you're like, how the fuck did you get here? What are you
Yeah.
doing in here? You can fuck up and blow up all the plants and kill him, or you can like do some special shit to rescue him, whatever. He comes back to his wife and he's like a bumbling idiot. And she's like, yeah, he just like turned so stupid and now he can't do anything. It's so freaking annoying. Um, Later, if you follow the quest, you can actually cure him of his stupidity because it's caused by like this weird like disease or something, and you can get an item that can like cure him. It turns out if you cure him, he's an abusive piece of shit.
Oh.
like you think like, oh, he's like this bumbling idiot because he's like kind of like harmless but like a bumbling idiot but like kind of nice. And if you
Yeah.
cure him, he goes back to normal and he's like a raging abusive piece of shit who like beats his wife, and it's just like, what the fuck, game? Like, what is
This
this?
isn't what I wanted.
This is exactly, but I think like that's part of the charm of the game, right? Is like you go down these quests and like shit will kind of happen. You'll be like, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Like that's
Hmm.
crazy. Um, so I don't know if it's like your genre, but it gives me like a similar vibe to the story elements of like the Fallout 4 game you're playing.
Right. I don't know. I get the vibe that Baldur's Gate is much more open-ended,
It might
or
be.
it gives you more player agency in like who your character becomes and what your character's backstory is, because it's based in like D&D, right? D&D 5?
It's based in D&D. Yeah, definitely like D&D 5e
Hmm.
stuff. I actually don't know. I forget like I know there are multiple different endings, but I don't know how many like um
Right.
depending on various choices you make and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. Are there multiple endings in like the Fallout game, or is there just kind of like one?
Well, there's four like mainish factions that you can side with.
Yeah.
One of them's racist.
Cool.
One
Yeah.
of them's eugenicist, creating slave robot people.
Also very cool.
One of them is spy underground railroad types fighting against the robo slaver people. But they're so covert that they lose track of stuff, and
Ah.
they lose track of their agents and their safe houses because everything is such a secret.
So they're like theoretically like the good guys, but they're just super incompetent.
Yeah, and then there's the other good guys who are like a militia of people trying to protect the common folk
Hmm.
of the world. Except they're so bad at management and leadership that there's literally one guy left. And when you meet him, he's like, "I want you to be the general now."
Dude, it's like passing the torch. Like
Basically,
that's
yeah.
so funny.
So those are your options.
Who so what path did you pick, man?
I'm going down the covert ops spy route ish
Okay.
right now because that they can coexist with the Minutemen, who's the like protecting the common man
Okay,
types.
so you're going like a full on lawful good kind of
Yeah,
like.
I think the Minutemen can be the other faction depending on, you can side with the other three and the Minutemen will still survive.
Okay.
But if you side with the like techno fascist guys,
Yeah.
they don't like the robot slavers because they're creating new technology and misusing it.
Yeah.
And then they don't like the underground railroad, who's called the railroad, because
Yeah.
they're fleeing they're helping the escaped robot slaves.
I see.
So they'll want to wipe out both of those factions.
Yeah. So there's like a hate triangle, and then like the Minutemen are just kind of like, we exist, man.
Yeah,
We're cool.
basically.
Yeah.
It's funny because you can convince the Minutemen that the Brotherhood of Steel, who are like the techno fascists, that their Brotherhood is a threat to the Commonwealth, which they are.
Yeah.
And then you nuke their airship and you kill everyone.
Oh shit.
It's pretty funny.
Have you
A lot of the quest lines end with you nuking one of the other factions.
Hey, I mean, it's called Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's accurate.
have you beaten the game before, or is this like fresh?
Yeah, I've beaten the game before. I'm replaying it because I bought all the DLC during a Steam sale 4 years ago and just haven't played it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I don't know. I should probably stop playing it, but it's that perfect 6 out of 10 game where you come home after a long
Dude,
day
I do know what you mean. I know what
just
you
boot
mean.
it up.
It's like so easy to just kind of like play,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't ask a lot of you,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it asks too little. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah, maybe High on Life asks too little.
Maybe High on Life asks too much.
I think it does ask too much of me. No, that's
so. What's
fair.
next in your video game book club?
I think, let's see, we have like a document. So we haven't met on this one. I don't know if we've decided, but we have a few things like on the list. One of which is this it's like a Metroidvania. I think it's called like Momodora 3. I don't really know much about it. I think Riley really wants to play it.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a whole, I'm trying to find the thing. There's like a whole game suggestions tab. Like there's a lot. So there's Momodora. There's just like a lot of things on the list. I don't know what's actually like next on the docket.
Is it all single player? Because I think it
yeah.
would be really funny to force everyone to play a multiplayer game together.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like it is a cool idea. We just would have to coordinate time then, right? It's like, what if the, what do you call it? Like, what if we all had to play League of Legends together? And we just like hated ourselves.
Maybe maybe not PvP multiplayer. Maybe like PvE.
like a co-op game, like something like Don't Starve Together, or like a Lethal Company,
or like Minecraft,
or like
6 of you. Minecraft.
What makes you what makes you think Minecraft would be such a good idea?
I don't know. Such a foundational game in our day and age. And I feel like maybe some people have never played it. Never given it a fair shot.
Yeah, never given it a fair shake. I can't think of anyone that I know who that has applied to.
Oh, no one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly
in this call.
No one in this call.
You.
Definitely not me. No one in this call with my name that has an unused Minecraft like license activation thing in their bedroom that was bought to me by a different person in this call like many years ago. No one like that.
No one like
no
that.
one like that.
No one. You heard about the 2-week Minecraft phase?
Hey man, I have a different question for you. And we'll get back to the 2-week Minecraft phase. But Luke, have you played this game on your Steam library? It looks kind of cool. It's called Ori and the Blind Forest.
Come on, man. That's not fair.
It's literally not fair. It's not, but I think it's so funny.
All right. Well, if I play this game, you know what that means?
Yeah.
You know what it means. I don't have to spell it
I
out
know.
for you, right?
I know what it means. Here, I'm about to regret what I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
You play the game. We'll see what we'll see what your hours in the game are, and then I will give you the same amount of hours back.
Well, how about we each beat the game?
You can, dude. That's how do you beat Minecraft?
You kill the Ender Dragon.
Dude, I've seen Dream do that. It's okay.
And that is a very reputable name.
It's a very reputable name in the Minecraft community.
There have been studies done on statistics about Dream.
Yeah.
So
statistics. Speaking of statistics, I got so many statistics for y'all. How are you both doing? Like, how are you doing, Eric? Like, I know y'all just came from pre-release, so I'm like, how's your energy?
Did.
Oh, you didn't go?
I didn't go. Yeah, I was feeling a little too tired.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Did you at least pick up your like pack?
I actually didn't. I thought about it. I legitimately was like, you know what? For this set, I wasn't feeling it too much as well too, so I didn't feel
Oh,
too
did you
pressured on it.
register or no? You just
No, I didn't. I
okay.
didn't, yeah.
You guys don't need to like pre-register for your pre-release. You can just kind of show up. They're like they have more stuff.
Well, I've never tried just walking in and doing it actually.
I
That's
don't know,
fair.
Tava. I feel like we're maybe starting in the middle of a story here, right?
I totally. I was actually gonna cut all that out just to see how y'all were doing, and then start with like the cool part of the story.
No. I mean, like in terms of Magic the Gathering, like what is a pre-release even?
What is it? That's such a great question. Well, why don't I kind of start us off a little? I have a little bit of an intro, a little bit of a preamble, and then we'll get to some of these questions. Okay? Why don't we just
all right,
why don't we just
sure.
get to some of these questions? So, our story begins in 1985 when a man by the name of Richard Garfield. What's so funny? What's so funny? Huh?
Nothing. No. Go on.
You don't like my storytelling? You don't like my narration?
Go ahead. It's fine.
So our story begins in 1985 when a man by the name of Richard Garfield makes a game. And this game is called Robo Rally. And so Richard Garfield pitches this game, Robo Rally, to a small indie game publisher at the time called Wizards of the Coast.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them too. And so their CEO at the time, they see this game. It's, for context, Robo Rally is like a random ass generic board game. So they see this generic board game, and the CEO, they go to Richard. They're like, Richard, listen. We love you, man. You're great. We love your work. But maybe if you could instead make something that's like a little more portable, maybe it's like a little faster paced, quicker to play, and is like way fucking cheaper to make. Like maybe if you did those three things, maybe we could talk. You know,
Yeah, like get rid of the board, maybe.
like get rid of the board.
Get rid of like, the pieces.
Get rid of the pieces. Like maybe make it like dirt cheap to fucking produce. I don't know. Figure it out, man. And then
like print it on like cardboard or something.
Yeah, like print it on cardboard or something. So this is exactly what Richard Garfield comes up with, and he comes up with the first ever trading card game called
Pokemon.
No, I don't know when Pokemon actually released, but Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering, which was then published by Wizards of the Coast in 1993, over 30 years ago. And speaking of Pokemon, since the release of Magic, the idea of a trading card game has kind of become a lot more ubiquitous. Like maybe it's the circles I run in, but most people I know have like at least heard of like a trading card game like a Yu-Gi-Oh or the Pokemon trading card game, or even like digital trading card games like Hearthstone. All of which, guess what? Inspired by Magic the Gathering.
Same thing with Goldfish as well too. Or Go Fish.
Mm-hmm. My favorite trading card game, Go Fish. Mm-hmm. I just say what card I want and I get it.
Only trading was that easy.
Yeah. But Magic did so well and was so popular that it was actually acquired by Hasbro, which, speaking of Go Fish, is a major toy company. And so they acquired Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast as a whole in 1999 for over $300 million. Which, in that period of time, that was a lot of money. Like Wizards of the Coast was worth a lot. But
still feels like a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. But if you look at today, like if you look at like the current year, Magic the Gathering brings in over $1 billion of revenue every year.
That's a good investment.
It's a great return on investment. So before this episode, I was kind of doing some research, doing a little bit of stats, looking through Hasbro investor and quarterly earnings and that kind of shit, which I know nothing about. But the stats in 2023, Magic grossed over $1 billion. Hasbro as a whole, like the entire rest of the company, including Magic, grossed $5 billion. Making Magic 20% or like a fifth of its revenue. And the even crazier thing is if you don't look at revenue and you instead look at like profit, Magic the Gathering accounted for 70% of Hasbro's profit.
Oh my God.
Like they are literally keeping Hasbro afloat with their own two hands.
That is what 70%?
70% of the profit. And you know why?
Jeez.
It's cause like the freaking Wizard of the Coast CEO said all those years ago. It's like, hey, could you make this like more portable, easy to distribute, and like cheaper? And it turns out all these things are part of what makes Magic such a great like product today. It's like so cheap to print ink on cardboard.
Mm. Mm.
And so, looking at today, Magic is doing really well. Over 50 million people play globally, which is a pretty big number. And that's great for Hasbro. But you know what's not so great for Hasbro?
What? Taxes?
That and the rest of their fucking company.
No.
Like, so again, when I was looking at these investor pages and earnings, I was like looking at quarterly earnings, annual earnings, all this stuff. And I don't know much about this, but like every report said the same thing, which made it really easy to follow, which is that Hasbro revenue is down. Every sector is fucking down by some amount. Magic the Gathering, steadily up, steadily growing, steadily consistent.
Oh, it's the cash cow.
Magic is the cash cow. And,
The golden goose.
The golden goose. And this kind of creates this awkward tension for fans of Magic the Gathering, because instead of feeling like Wizards of the Coast, like people who really care about like games are making their game, it feels like Hasbro is constantly kind of squeezing the community for their money to keep like their investors happy and to keep their executives like fucking loaded, right? Like rich.
They're holding us upside down and shaking us and
Literally.
taking whatever change falls out.
Exactly. Like, yeah, it feels like a shakedown. Like they'll release a product and people be like, this is a scam.
I was strong enough to say no today.
Oh yeah? Were you strong enough to say no?
I didn't give him an ounce of my money.
Well, maybe you should give them money in like good products and not like the bad. But I think one other thing I kind of want to talk about is like why Magic as a whole is so successful baseline. And for that, it's like, why does it make so much money, right? We talked about how much money it makes. And then why do people like it? Like, why are players willing to spend their money on pieces of cardboard?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. But hey, you're skipping ahead. We'll get to that. We'll get to why it's so fun.
All right. Sorry.
I want to talk about money first. But I think money can also be broken down into like kind of two basic reasons, right? The first is that Magic comes in a booster pack, which I'll get to like what that is, what that means. And the second is the cards in these booster packs have monetary value. And I think all this together is what makes Magic so financially viable, right? So a booster pack is essentially just a physical like container that holds Magic cards, but they're randomized. It's a physical loot box, right? So every time you open a Magic the Gathering booster pack, you don't know what you're going to get. And
it's just like Smiskies or Sunny Angels.
Dude, that's...
Not incorrect.
What? You're going to have to explain to me what a Smisky is.
Don't worry, the people know.
The people know. Okay, well, people who know in the chat, please comment so I can learn what a Smisky is. But yeah, so it comes in these booster packs. And the cards have rarities, right? So some cards are super common. Literally, they have a common rarity. And other cards are very rare. Because of this, some of the rarer cards are really, really expensive. A very obvious example of this, and some people might have seen in mainstream media, is that Post Malone bought one Magic card for $2.6 million.
Dang.
That's kind of absurd when you think about how little it must have cost to print it.
That's just a piece of cardboard, Teva.
It's just a piece of cardboard, but like the things in these booster packs have monetary value. People don't know how much value is in them until they open them up. And you can buy the individual cards on like online websites. And so that's kind of how every card kind of has its own price based on what people are wanting to buy it for and supply and demand on this place we like to call the secondary market. And because of this, every Magic the Gathering pack that's opened is essentially gambling, right? You are investing in, most Magic packs cost about $5, at a chance of return of like a huge number, like $20, $100, whatever, or basically getting a dud and losing out on that. So monetarily...
Yeah. Genshin players will know what that feels like.
Genshin players, gacha. Literally, it's a casino and a gacha game. Magic is just one big casino and gacha game. But also people who don't care as much about the money also kind of like the randomness of like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna get. What cards am I gonna see? You know, it's kind of fun for that reason too. And so as for the why do people like the actual game so much, now that we kind of know like why Magic is so successful and makes so much money, I feel like there's a lot of like, this is like a pretty deep rabbit hole of like why people think it's fun, like what's so fun about it. I think one aspect is there's a lot of ways to play it. Like, so there's a lot of different Magic formats, and there's kind of three big ones that I think we'll quickly cover. One of which is limited. And what all limited means is you don't come in bringing a deck of cards. You kind of take these booster packs that we were talking about, open them up, and you build a deck straight from the cards in the booster pack. Something notable about limited is that every time a new set comes out, Magic the Gathering and basically game stores will host an event called a pre-release. These pre-releases are really fun. They're a limited event, and people basically get to crack open packs from a fresh new set that they've never seen or played with before and get to play against like other Magic players with them. This is the event that Luke and Eric, or just I guess Luke, basically played today, right? They're kind of a fan favorite and one of the best ways to like get into Magic because everyone's playing with new cards that they've never seen before. More sweaty Magic, like, you know, tournament Magic, is usually in this format called Constructed, which, you know, is what you'd think about probably if you were going to be like, you know, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like you come in with your deck and you compete and you try and win, right? So I would say there's a lot of different variants of Constructed. The only really important one for us to talk about today is Standard, which is kind of the biggest one, the most important one. So Magic releases a bunch of sets every year. Only sets from the last 2 years are legal in Standard. This is basically like all the recent cards are what you play with in Standard. And because of this, it's really accessible to newer people because they get to use the cards that are out right now and then they can build a deck, right? The last format I kind of want to touch on is the most popular, and it's called Commander. Now, the cool thing about Commander is if you were to try and like give like a 5-year-old like an idea, it's like, how would you like to play Magic? And they just came up with the most bizarre superhero power fantasy way to play it. Like, this would be it. You choose a single legendary creature, build an entire deck around it, and then you play a multiplayer game with like, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 people. And so this is really cool because now instead of it being like a 1v1 head-to-head game, it's like a social game. Just because one person is doing well doesn't mean it's like bad for you. You can kind of like negotiate with your friends. You'd be like, oh, you're doing so well, you should like help me out. Or like, you know, Luke's really ahead, Eric, we have to like deal with him. We have to fight him. It becomes much more of like a social, fun game. And because of that, Commander is now the most popular way to play Magic.
Because people want the best ways to manipulate and gaslight their friends.
Well,
maybe that's your reason for playing Magic. Everyone has their own unique reason.
It's a great reason to play Magic, and people should join for
Yeah.
exactly that reason.
other people really like Commander. Other people really like Commander because almost every card is legal in Commander from
Yes.
the over 30 years that the game's been around. And there's so many different characters, so many different like gameplay styles, so many different strategies you can use where you can create the exact deck that you would enjoy playing.
Yeah, and I think this is touching on a really important point in Magic, in that part of why it's so fun to play and people like it is that there's a lot of ways to express yourself like in the game. Like from the legendary creature you choose as your commander, from the colors you play in Magic. So this is a really big and important part of Magic, is that cards come in 5 different colors. Did either of you want to kind of touch on or explain color identity?
I can just do like a very simple
Yeah.
explanation. So there's 5 main colors, and then each color kind of has a different value and like basically different likes and dislikes in that color. And so when you're looking at the 5 different colors in Magic, you can kind of think of who you are as a person too, and be like, you know, I definitely feel like a red-blue player. The sets of values overlapping there, you know, that really like it's really something I identify with.
Yeah.
Or you can look at just the way that the cards play and think, oh, I really like playing fast games and just attacking. Red. That's what red does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And like in particular, there was a set called Ravnica that introduced actual names to paired color combinations, right? So like blue red was Is It, or black green was oh god.
Golgari. But
Golgari.
yes, yeah. You
Golgari,
basically,
yeah.
yes. Once you start getting into the color pairs, you kind of get this like this own unique identity when you start mixing and matching the
Yeah.
colors, right? They have their own like identity, and like it's really funny because you mentioned like Is It, like a lot of blue red players are like, yeah, I'm so Is It. It's like I'm such an Is It player, you know? Like,
Yeah,
they'll use
and,
the
like,
word to describe themselves.
it's similar in the way, like in a very similar fashion to like a lot of different media where it's like just like Harry Potter, very very popular, and the biggest thing with Harry Potter is people wanting to separate themselves into the houses, right? Um, in the exact same way as that, people really attach the identities that they find in Magic. So that's part of the reason also why people really like certain play styles and different identities for that, because it feels like it reflects them, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you can be like Luke mentioned, like a really aggressive, like you're just like impulsive and you want to go fast, and so you're like a red player, or you could be more like careful and calculating and controlling. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna play blue and I'm gonna know what you're gonna do before you do and plan against it. You know, like there's a lot of different and varied gameplay that comes from the colors. The other really cool thing that I really like about the Magic color like schemes and identities is you can start like talking about fictional characters under the Magic like color identity scheme. Like, and this is like a big thing for like superhero movies, right? Like you can describe a lot of different heroes or characters by the colors they kind of exemplify or represent. So just as an example, if anyone saw like Avengers Endgame, like Thanos, the big bad, he is actually like a white and black villain in terms of the colors of Magic. He represents the order and control of white with also like the selfishness and willingness to like kill of black. And it's just a really cool way you can interact with like media more and kind of think about media that way. To get back to like Commander a bit, the one thing I did want to emphasize is that because Commander is the most popular way to play Magic right now, this means that there's a lot of financial incentive for Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to like make products that are targeted to Commander players. There's a lot of money in Commander, and so Magic the Gathering business decisions are being made with Commander as a format in mind.
Gee, Teva, that doesn't sound like it's great for consumers.
Wow, funny you mentioned that. It's not great for consumers. It sucks for consumers. Or does it? You know? I think there are definitely arguments to be made that Magic the Gathering is as big as it is now because the game has changed so much and it has like kind of evolved to like its shareholders' interests, if that makes sense. Like it has evolved to become this $1 billion a year making machine.
Mm-hmm.
But we can kind of get to that because we kind of mentioned this briefly last time, but there are big events that are happening in Magic the Gathering, a lot of which with like a lot of financials involved, and a lot of which that are just really important to the people who play Magic. So we kind of mentioned this banning that happened in Commander, right? Where a few cards were banned that each of which alone were worth like $80 to $200. And because all these cards were banned at once, like hundreds of millions of dollars of value were lost in these cards. Like if people wanted to sell these cards, they sold for like maybe half what they were before when the bans were announced.
Did you go through kind of what banning actually entails as far as
So I think as a general background, right, all Magic formats have a ban list, right? There are cards that you're just not allowed to play because they're too powerful, right? It's really difficult to make a game balanced, and sometimes if you get rid of a card that was made, the game plays a lot better, it feels a lot better, it's a lot more fun. And so in terms of banning, most formats, Wizards of the Coast, the company that makes Magic, decides what's banned and what's not. You know, similar to kind of how like Riot Games determines how competitive League of Legends or competitive Valorant is played, or like Valve decides how, Dota, professional Dota is played. Wizards of the Coast determines what cards are banned in Magic the Gathering. Except for in Commander, because Commander is a casual format that Wizards of the Coast didn't come up with. And so just like by the nature of the way Commander was developed, where people were basically like posting in online forums like, oh, this is way too strong, oh, this is too whatever, like they're just naturally developed this group called the Commander's Rules Committee, often referred to as the RC, to stand for Rules Committee. But they basically started organizing and navigating the Commander's ban list. And for the longest time, these group of people who did not work for Wizards of the Coast were in charge of what cards were kind of just de facto allowed to be played in Commander and what cards were like considered too broken or powerful.
Geez, it seems like things could run into issues if it's a group of community individuals
Yeah.
making decisions for the game that the majority of players enjoy.
Yeah, and it's like we say a group of individuals. I just want to emphasize like this was 5 people. Like it's a small group of individuals too. And like they're making decisions for a $1 billion like game, right? Like it's kind of crazy. And the crazier thing is the community, the people at large really liked this. They were super into it and they still are super into it. The format, I would use the terms like grassroots, community driven. Like it felt like a community format. It felt like the one thing that big greedy Wizards and big greedy Hasbro didn't like have their hands all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. It probably should stay that way,
It
too.
probably should stay that way. However, on September 23rd, 2024,
Oh, no.
No. The Rules Committee banned the cards that we were talking about earlier. They banned 3 very expensive and impactful cards in Magic the Gathering, tanking these prices. And as people do when they lose a lot of money, they got very unhappy online. And so people started sending death threats to the Rules Committee because, again, the Rules Committee is composed of 5 people who do not work for Wizards of the Coast. In fact, they have full-time jobs elsewhere doing their own thing and kind of do this Rules Committee thing as a side gig. So these people were now getting death threats for this decision that they made, which they banned these cards because they wanted Commander to play better. They thought that banning these cards would make Commander a better format, right? But if you're a normal ass person who loves playing Magic the Gathering and like is part of this as like a side thing, you're not really equipped to handle death threats, doxing, just all this shit. And this kind of came to a head when I thought I had the date for this, but I don't. But eventually, as a fallout of all of these things happening, an announcement came soon after where the Rules Committee officially gave control of the Commander ban list to Wizards of the Coast.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, this is a very emotionally complicated thing, I think, for a lot of Commander players and ourselves included. So we're kind of in a waiting mode to see what happens with Wizards of the Coast in charge of this format, but I can tell you that it feels like it's like a change that you can never go back to, right? Like it's like opening Pandora's box. Wizards of the Coast will never not have control of the Commander format. And if you're a player of Magic the Gathering, this means that, rather than this group of 5 people who really love and care about this format, deciding what gets banned and what doesn't, and also not having financial ties or affiliations with Wizards of the Coast making these decisions, it's now your megacorp deciding what you get to play and have fun with.
And on the plus side, though, at least WotC, what we normally colloquially call it.
Yeah, it's an abbreviation for Wizards
yeah.
of the Coast, WotC,
They
WOTC.
do have the player's best interest in mind.
Right.
And they will do the right thing.
But they're being yanked around like a chihuahua on a chain by Hasbro.
Yeah, well, beautiful, so colorful. Such a colorful way to describe
it. The more
it.
I think about it, the more fiscally correct that is.
Yeah. Sorry, do you mean the rules committee is being yanked around, or Wizards of the Coast
No,
is being?
Wizards of the
Wizards of the
Coast.
Definitely, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's like really sad, and it's coincident with some other like sad news that the biggest summary is that Magic is changing, and it's changing a lot, and in ways that I think it makes a lot of people who played the game for so many years kind of sad. Um, like for I think this is kind of an interesting stat and a bit of context. Of the 50 million people who play Magic the Gathering, a third of them started playing in the last 3 years. So that's pretty good for new player acquisition. Another third of them have been playing for 3 to 10 years. And the last third are like very enfranchised players who've been playing for like over 10 years.
That's still a lot of people.
It's a lot of people who've been playing for over 10 plus years, right? That's like a lot of the 50 million people who've like been there kind of like since near the beginning. And so it kind of feels like some of the things that are happening in Magic are starting to alienate this last third of people, the 10 plus years people, in favor for the newer players, right? Who are coming in and joining and really enjoying and loving this game.
Or even the non-players.
Or even, yeah, the non-players?
Yeah, maybe people who see a Magic product on the shelf and see something they recognize on the Magic product.
But Luke, why would a person who's never played Magic before want to buy a Magic the Gathering product?
Teva, have you heard of something called Universes Beyond?
I think about it every night before I go to sleep.
That's what gets them to go to sleep, in fact.
What is Universes Beyond, Luke?
Well, see, for the longest time, Magic has had kind of its own internal story. It's had a colorful cast of characters throughout its history. And it's all been relatively self-contained.
Yeah, like the famous... I don't think any of our very few of our viewers probably know any Magic characters at all, right? Like,
yeah, and see, Hasbro has determined that this is a problem. We need to reach out to people who like other things that, you know, normal people like
normal people.
Like The Walking Dead, maybe?
The Walking Dead, interesting. Yeah, I think that's a thing that like a lot of people would know about and like and might want to get some Magic cards if they featured their favorite Walking Dead character.
Well, that would be silly, though. They would never do that. I mean,
well, I've got some good news for you, Teva.
Yeah.
Maybe some bad news for you, Eric. 4 years ago,
no.
Yeah.
almost 4 years to the day, October 4th, 2020, Wizards released a Walking Dead crossover with new cards, new exclusive cards with that featured characters from The Walking Dead, cards that had never existed before. They weren't reskins of old cards. They weren't retextures. And, you know, it's a little jarring if you're playing with your good old Magic the Gathering high fantasy setting characters, and then suddenly there's Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead.
Dude, literally, yeah. I mean, this is the comparisons like people were making when this came out. It's like, I can't wait to play my like high fantasy game and have like a serial murderer and like rapist like across the board from me because that's his character in The Walking Dead or whatever, right? Like it's it's really jarring, and a lot of people didn't like it. And this was the first of many universes.
Well, I mean, you said a lot of people didn't like it, right? There's no way they could have done it more.
Well, you know, I've got even worse news for you, Luke, which is that the Universes Beyond products sold really well. Like, they sold really well. Like, even though most enfranchised Magic players, people who like really like Magic, were upset, the numbers showed that a lot of people wanted to buy these products. Like, they were very popular and successful. Which resulted in us having, since then, 22 more Universes Beyond products in the past 4 years.
What? Like 22? Like, what are they going to put in Magic? Like Hatsune Miku or something?
Oh, don't worry. I've got a list for you. So in just selecting from these 22 products, there's a range of things. So there's like stuff like Lord of the Rings, which kind of matches the vibe. There's Assassin's Creed, Fallout, Transformers, like robots.
That's a Hasbro property, right?
Yeah, that is. You're right. Robots in disguise. Yeah. Fortnite. The Princess Bride is in Magic. The hit series Arcane from League of Legends has Magic cards. I actually own some of these cards. Tomb Raider, the board game Clue, is in Magic the Gathering. You can play as fucking Professor Plum or whoever. Like, and you mentioned it, but yes, Hatsune Miku is in Magic the Gathering. It is.
Oh my god, dude. What's next? Marvel?
What's next? Marvel? No, they would never announce 5 exclusive like drops of like Marvel characters that are limited time only, not print to demand, and then a whole Marvel Spider-Man set coming in the next year. They would never.
They would never
Do that.
See, the way that you're talking about it makes it seem like it's already happened.
It has.
So there is actually something that is very much worth mentioning as well too with a lot of the cards, and especially on the initial onset of them, especially with the Walking Dead set. There was a very severe issue where the Rick Grimes cards and Negan cards and things like that were completely unique cards.
Yes.
They did not exist in other capacities. At one point they had, I think the first one was technically the Godzilla cards.
Yes. I'm not sure. I don't know the exact times, but I think the Walking Dead was the first example of this ever happening. And yes, like you said, the cards were what we call mechanically unique, aka there's no way to play these cards. There's no replacement for these cards. There are no other cards that do what these cards do. Like if you want to play these cards, you need those cards.
Well, Walking Dead, actually, if you want to go way back on this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Walking Dead was the first Universes Beyond, explicitly Universes Beyond, I think, product. Godzilla was a crossover, but it was in a set. Godzilla was a crossover that happened before, but it was in a set that was specifically about like monsters and kaiju. So
right.
People were less apprehensive about it.
Yeah.
Because it fit in with the theming. And I mean, even before this, there was a My Little Pony Magic the Gathering crossover that happened years before.
I've blocked that from my mind.
Yeah. Well, I guess the point is, Walking Dead started the trend of a major departure away from thematically what Magic the Gathering is. And it also started the trend, like Eric was mentioning, of new cards with no counterparts in Magic that already existed. Like the Godzilla cards were reprints, retextures that had the same mechanics as other cards in the set.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eric mentioned.
Like they had a skin on them, essentially.
Yeah, it was basically reskins. Walking Dead cards, completely new, not reskins.
Yeah, and I also want to mention, now that we're on this, like the fallout from the Walking Dead like release was actually so bad that Wizards of the Coast made a promise that for Universes Beyond products, we are going to make in-universe Magic the Gathering counterparts to all these cards. Like anything that you see in Universes Beyond, we will eventually make into a not like mechanically unique exclusive card or whatever. Like they literally made a promise from that because of the reaction and outcry to this product. That promise did not keep.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have statistics somewhere of it might be out there somewhere, but as far as cards that have yet to have an in-universe reprint,
people have kept stats on this. At this point, it's kind of a bit of a moot point because they're no longer doing this. So most of the time, these Universes Beyond things we're talking about, they're like 5 to 10 cards, maybe. Like, you know, they print like Rick Grimes and a few other Walking Dead characters, and then they call it, right? So it's not that unreasonable to make these 5 to 10 cards later in like a real Magic set. The problem is, from there, they just started doing more and more of this. The bigger problem is it was immensely popular and successful. So, you know, they would make maybe commander decks that were like fully Universes Beyond themed and skinned. So they'd have like a lot of regular Magic cards, but also a bunch of like unique cards never printed before, exclusive to this like Universes Beyond product. And I think this kind of like majorly came to a head when they released the Lord of the Rings set, which was happened last year and was a full Magic set, like a full Magic expansion, like hundreds and hundreds of new cards that were Lord of the Rings themed. and it was the best-selling Magic set of all time.
I didn't know it was the best-selling
It's
set.
it was, and I believe still is, the best-selling Magic set of all time is the Lord of the Rings collaboration set. And what's funny is a lot of people didn't mind it because Lord of the Rings is kind of in the same genre as Magic. Like they're both kind of high fantasy settings. It doesn't feel like crazy to see like an elf in Magic the Gathering or like a hobbit in Magic the Gathering. Like it doesn't feel super jarring. But now we're getting to a point where if you're making hundreds and hundreds of new unique cards, it's going to be really hard for you to make Magic the Gathering versions of them. Like, I don't know, they made like 5 different Gandalfs. How are you going to put 3 to 5 different Gandalfs in another Magic product? Like, were you going to make Frodo some random like hobbit? Like, it's just, it gets a lot harder and a lot trickier for them to start making them not Universes Beyond. And again, the money talks. The Universes Beyond is doing so well. They've kind of realized they don't have to do this. They don't have to make the Magic versions. And they're not going to anymore. Because next year, in 2025, they're going to make half of the Magic sets they release full Universes Beyond sets.
Jeez.
I hate that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad I could teach you something, Luke. Yeah, so 2025, this, they had basically like a big Magic convention like a few weeks ago, and they basically announced their schedule for 2025. Half the sets are going to be Magic the Gathering in-universe themed, and half the sets are going to be something else, one of which is going to be Final Fantasy, and the other is going to be Marvel's Spider-Man. And the last one is a mystery that they're hiding and going to say later. A lot of people speculate it could be something like Game of Thrones or some other big major IP. Like half of the Magic sets released next year are going to be not Magic. Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
One of those things where I remember when it first came out, it seemed like a lot of people did talk about the slippery slope kind of issue, which is true, right? It's one of those things that's super valid. I didn't think it was going to be nearly this bad. And I think I was more in that camp of like, I was kind of ambivalent about it. I didn't like love the idea of it, especially having Rick Grimes invade my game and fight like Rick and Morty characters. Like that was pretty insane as a concept. And we did have something similar like that happen one night, and it was very funny, don't get me wrong. But now that as time has gone on and we've seen more and more of this and how pervasive it is, it ties back to that issue of, well, it's what sells. And unfortunately, now that we now know that the Lord of the Rings set was one of the, can you call it highest grossing? Is that a correct way to put it?
Sure, best selling, like it sold the
yeah.
most amount of product, probably made the most amount of money. Yeah, I'm guessing it's highest grossing.
Right. So that being the case, money speaks. And as we have seen in the past and will continue to see, the bottom line is probably the most important thing for basically any corporation. It does not matter for most things outside of how much money they're making. And if it makes them more, then they'll keep doing it. So this is something where we'll continue to expect seeing it. And the thing that does make me wonder, and I do question from time to time, is there something where, like, at this point, I am pretty against it on a moral sense. Is there something that would come out that would make me buy in? I don't know. I don't know if there's something for you, Teva, that would be the case.
He already said he had the arcane cards.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm to be honest,
That
I
was
think
earlier. Though.
I got those because the value, like, it was just like, so the arcane ones, at least they were basically reskins, so they were like real Magic cards, and they were just alternate versions of cards that I wanted anyways. So it kind of lined up to be like, sure, I'll get like Jace and like Vi or whoever from League of Legends on my cards if it means I get the cards I want. Like they basically printed like Rhystic Study or whatever in like Magic the Gathering. So I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck it, I'll just buy it because of the actual Magic cards on them, right? Not because of the IP.
What if there was a Gundam set, Eric?
I mean, it'd be cool. I will say though as well too. Something that is worth mentioning, because I was like just looking at the cards again right now.
Yeah.
Some of the cards aren't even like, they're literally just the art is different. Right? Some of the cards are literally just the same Magic cards that we've had in other sets. It's just that the art is different and themed. That's it. Which is also a lot easier to an extent to swallow. Whereas some of the other cards are named different things, even though they're the same mechanically similar cards.
I think for me, which like I agree, there's a difference between the cards being like fresh, new, and like unique versus having other replacements. I think the other thing for me that's really upsetting about this is just like how massive and sudden of a jump this feels.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went from doing like maybe one supplemental, very in the background, like Magic the Gathering, like Universes Beyond collaboration or set. Like 2023 they had Lord of the Rings and that was like huge. 2024 they did like Assassin's Creed or something and that was like kind of tiny. So you're kind of going from like almost nothing in 2024 to a new normal of half of Magic the Gathering is no longer Magic the Gathering. It's
Yeah.
like huge. It's crazy to me. And it's like they could have done like a different split. Like they could have done a 4-2 or a 3-2 split where it's like, okay, don't worry. At least we're keeping the majority of Magic the Gathering like its own thing. But to make it like half and half, like right off the bat, like I've heard people saying like this is just the new beginning, right? Give it 5 years, it'll be one Magic the Gathering set and 5 collaboration Universes Beyond sets a year. It'll be 1 to 9. Like, what's stopping them from making all the sets collaboration, like instead of like actual Magic sets?
It's the Fortnitification of Magic the Gathering.
It is the Fortnitification. I'm waiting. Like, so it's funny you mentioned that because way back, like in 2020 probably when the Universes Beyond Walking Dead stuff came out, a well-known like kind of comic maker in the community called Cardboard Crack made this comic, and I'm gonna post an image of it in the video so you can look at that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna read the lines because I think they're pretty funny. I attack with SpongeBob. In response, I tap Kylo Ren to use Force Choke. Then I Repulsor Blast with Iron Man. Elsa shoots ice shards at Iron Man. I tap Whopper to give Iron Man +2/+2. I counter by going sicko mode with Travis Scott. And the final panel is, what game are you guys playing? Magic the Gathering, duh. Don't you know Magic when you see it? And
It's
this...
the-
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say the most ridiculous part of that honestly might be that like Travis Scott is like a real life character. They would not just put that into Magic the Gathering.
Well, speaking of Fortnitification, right? So the funny thing is when this comic came out, it was like, God, this would be so ridiculous. And now we're halfway there. Like half of the characters on this comic are coming to Magic the Gathering, and probably most of them will be in Magic eventually. Like, I think having a real human, like person in Magic, it's literally the Fortnitification, like the freaking, I don't know enough about Fortnite skins, but I think there are like real humans you can like get their skins.
Ariana Grande is literally
Will Smith
in Fortnite.
is in Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like it's gonna happen to Magic too, and it's really sad, I think.
Because I think at the moment we only have Post Malone. Unless that's already changed at this point, I'm not even aware.
We do have Post Malone. The Post Malone thing is kind of interesting because it's a reskin, like we mentioned, which is less offensive. And at the very least, I don't know much about Post Malone, but like the dude does legitimately love Magic the Gathering. Like he is a celebrity and a musical artist, but at the very least, he actually cares and gives a shit about Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Which I think is a huge distinction because I can tell you Ariana Grande does not give a shit about Fortnite. Like, I don't think anyone should give a shit about Fortnite.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know her? You've asked her this personally?
I don't like to speak about people I've never talked to or met, but I do it all the time, so I'll continue doing it. No, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I think it's just, it sends such a different message and such a different signal. And like, I think we mentioned this idea, Eric, you were talking about how like, yeah, Hasbro, like they'll just keep squeezing the cash cow until it doesn't like work anymore, right?
Till the udders are dry.
Till the udders are dry. But I do think that if someone is smart and looking for like long-term success and like growth, right? Like there's a balance to be had where I think some of this Universes Beyond stuff will be good for Magic financially, right? It'll bring in a lot more people. And I'm sure that like a lot of these people we kind of will find like grow to love Magic the Gathering as a whole. And they started because they're like, dude, I saw Iron Man, and I was like, fuck yeah, I want to play with Iron Man. And then they grow to love Magic the Gathering. But it's also just so disillusioning and disheartening to see the game that you've played for so long kind of turn into this like generic slop mush.
This is not my beautiful wife.
It's not my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
It's not my beautiful life.
Honey, I'm a frog.
Yeah.
It's something where I know already previously, and I've touched upon it before, where I've been really tired with Magic already due to the mass amounts of product they were pushing out.
Yeah.
It was like hard to keep up with new releases, and by the time you're already waiting off of one, it seems like the next one's already on its way in like the next week, and it just gets tiring, right? Like you want to enjoy new things and enjoy that and play with all the fancy new toys, but when it just is nonstop, it gets tiring to keep up with, and that's legitimately why I had stopped for a while, and it's still been a while since I've been able to really get back into it. And they did, to their credit, but the credit is very, very small, is that they did say they were going to step back from a few releases, or like as many releases that they have done in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
But that still doesn't mean too much, realistically, considering what those releases now are.
Well, it's funny that you say that because they've done the complete opposite, right? Like historically, throughout most of Magic's like history, they've released 4, maybe 5 sets a year. And with this new Universes Beyond thing, they're releasing 6 next year. They are like upping the amount of product. There's this like consumer fatigue, right? Like people don't have infinite money to spend on Magic cards, but they keep spitting out more and more product for like people to buy. So I don't know if they're really cutting back. It's also funny you mentioned that like, yeah, you feel like you've been feeling kind of disillusioned with it. I feel like Magic has never been more fun to play. I actually love brewing and playing like building Magic decks, playing Magic with like friends. Like I think it's like still super fun. Like I really enjoy it. There's just all this stuff kind of surrounding the game that's kind of like sad for me.
The way that I've found to strike a balance is just not to start reading the spoilers like I used to. Not to try to keep up with all the new releases. I just go to the pre-release. I buy a box and then I draft it.
Yeah, I think
when I was really trying to keep up with everything that was coming out, it was just overwhelming.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of sad that you can't do that anymore. Like if you're really into Magic, like I felt this way too. It's like there's just so much of it happening all the time. Like Magic used to be like a seasonal thing, right? Like once a season you'd be like, oh shit, this new Magic stuff came out. Like this is awesome. And now it's like, oh, this thing came out. Now we're starting to talk about the next thing. Like kind of mirroring like the news cycle and like just the way the world is. Like the churn is so fast.
It's never ending hype. It's like, the day after Halloween when you go to the store and there's people selling stuff for Christmas.
Dude, oh my God.
It's like if you went to the store the day after Christmas and people were selling Easter decorations.
Yeah.
And then you go the day after Easter to the store and they're selling 4th of July decorations.
Damn, you're really good at your holidays.
And they're selling Halloween decorations.
Dude.
It's that all year, every year.
Yeah.
That's how it was feeling for the past couple of years to like try to be keeping up with Magic, because you're constantly being bombarded with new crossover, new reskin, special printing of these cards, new set, new special set.
And that's not even counting the secret layers, actually.
Oh, well, God. Secret layers being like crossovers and reprints.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I think in a way it's probably like it's kind of funny. I was listening to like people talking about this, and I think there's an argument to be had that like some of it might be like a good thing in a way. Like we just have to change the way we engage and interact with like Magic. Like the cool thing is if you ever feel really excited about Magic, it's like there for you. The problem is you can't always be excited about it, right? Like I feel like literally like 2 sets ago or something, right? Like Bloomburrow came out, right? Which Bloomburrow was a Magic the Gathering set, which basically features all the cutest like squirrels, rabbits. It's like cute, fuzzy animal set Magic the Gathering. And like honestly, the art in this set is like so sick. I'm gonna I'll put some pictures up in the YouTube video so that people can like just quickly see. But like I thought the art and like vibe of Bloomburrow was actually so sick, and I think it's been one of the most fun sets to like look at the cards and like see what the cards do and like play with. Um, and I think it's really cool that Magic still makes sets like that. But it's
If
just
only every set they made could be at that standard.
yeah, yeah. I think it's unfortunately like I don't know, I think I forget if I mentioned this last episode or not, but like the longer the longer I'm alive, the more I realize why old people are so grumpy. Because they've just seen, like, think about how many things they've seen that they've loved. I think I definitely mentioned this, but they've just seen like disappear, right? Like, and also, you know, natural human biology, whatever. But like, it's a lot, right? Like you grow up, you have things you love, and then they like change, and you're like, this shit sucks now, which I don't think Magic does. Like, I think Magic is still great, but I think give it another 10 years, another 20 years, it might end up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm hoping at some point I have that same joy that I had when I first got into it. It like, legitimately is one of those things where a lot of fond memories, right? Like we got into it, at least Luke and I, we got into it because of you at 2000.
I mean, we got into it basically post college. Yeah, we like all graduated. I don't know if we had graduated, but yeah, it was really like the year, the gap year we took after like graduating that we really got super into Magic, and we would like play Commander games like just at our house very casually. We had a good friend group. We had like a good group of people playing. That was probably the most fun I've ever had with Magic because it's like a board game, but everyone can like kind of like tweak their deck and change things. And so like you play together one time and you're like, oh, Luke has this really powerful thing. I need to like have an answer to that. And like you can change your deck to like spec against like what Luke's doing, or like, you know, it's like a constantly evolving thing. It was
And,
like
with
really
our
fun.
play group, yeah, it's like everyone figuring out their styles, everyone figuring out what they liked and whatnot, and that was genuinely really, really enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Like it was it was a really fun point of like of just playing games, and especially with amongst friends, of course, too. Like that there's can't be able to say like how fun it is just being able to do that with friends, right? End of the day. And it's not like we can't do that now, right? But there is a certain point of, you know, we have a certain understanding of the game now, like, and there is a slight trend in our groups where everyone wants to do the strongest thing possible, right?
Classic, yeah.
And that is something where that's also a thing, but that's kind of another topic realistically, as far as Magic goes. But that joy of kind of exploring the game kind of together at the same time, that was very, very, very fun. And now it's just turned into this whole entire thing of, you know, everyone doing the most optimal thing with all these different products coming out. And that's also why for me it's gotten tiring, right? Is because you kind of had this feeling of, if you don't pay attention to the new things, right, because you get so tired with it, you also feel like you're missing out on a lot of different things.
You get left behind.
Yeah. Which, you know, is its own set of feels bad as well too. But
so why weren't you at pre-release today, Eric?
He got left behind.
That part of that, honestly, is that for me, back then there were these sets called the core sets, right? And these were kind of reprint sets that they had released. Excuse me. These are reprint sets that they had that essentially had really no new cards.
Can I just give some additional context to that? Like, they had no new cards, but they were like very like beginner oriented, like they were very much targeted towards beginners, and kind of like a fundamental representation of what Magic was. You know what I mean? Like, it was like the most magic-y of Magic sets. Like, it's like very simple Magic the Gathering. Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I didn't like the Foundations, because this recent set was kind of intentionally supposed to be that. It was supposed to be a set where, you know, new players could kind of jump in, they had some fun cards in it and that kind of stuff, but also a lot of it was reprints, which I'm generally not the biggest... I'm not as excited for that in general.
Well, you didn't want to go and test your fundamentals out against the best?
or against all the kids that I inevitably keep getting faced up against.
Dude, that's free wins, free money.
Free packs.
Yeah.
Anyways, I lost all of my matches today.
No! How?
In a truly heartbreaking string of events. I opened my packs.
Yeah.
I had some strong pulls. Strong stuff. I was going to play a strong black-blue control deck. I never
Nice.
play control.
Yeah.
But, I was drafted into control.
Yeah.
I had strong top-end flyers
Mm-hmm.
at the top. I had a demon that would let me grab whatever cards that I wanted. I had
shit.
2 copies of a Sphinx that would let me, draw cards basically
you
for
had,
free.
some good cards.
And I also was playing an additional color. I was playing green just for a card called Muldrotha, who lets
I
you
love
play a card of each permanent type. I don't want to get into it. Basically, lets you play stuff that's already died
You
or stuff
basically-
you've already used.
The way I would describe, you had like a juicer deck, right? Like you had, if you
Oh,
get
yeah.
to like 10 minutes, if you get all the things in the world, like your top end, like at the end of the game, you're just winning the game. Like you have juicers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
First game, don't draw more than 3 lands.
Okay.
Second game, I lose the control mirror. So I've lost my round 1.
Yeah.
Going to round 2.
For reference, because a lot of people might not know, lands are just, you need lands in Magic to play your spells. If you don't have lands, you can't play your spells.
Best cards in the game.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Second game, I go up against a guy who has a card, an equipment card. It's something you can put on a creature to make it stronger. Basically, it's making your creature twice as strong, and it makes extra damage go through and hit you. Hit the person that's being attacked.
Yep.
So it also has the ability where if it's in your starting hand, you can play it for free
What?
before the game starts.
What?
Game 1, he gets it down for free.
Oh my
I blank on
goodness.
lands. I don't get the lands I need. I lose.
Yeah.
Game 2, he gets it on his flyer, kills me.
Okay.
I've lost my round 2 after
Oh,
10
no.
minutes of gameplay.
That's
And
so
making
sad.
matters worse, between my round 1 and round 2, I lost the box containing the rest of my cards.
What?
So I couldn't change my deck at all between games.
No. Did you lose any
Yeah.
like good cards or valuable cards in that?
No,
or-
nothing valuable.
Okay.
Yeah, so I decided to drop, which means leave the event early, because even if I won the 3rd match, it wouldn't have affected my winnings.
Yeah.
So I took the one pack I get for participation,
Aw.
1 pack of cards.
Yeah.
And I left and came home to do laundry.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that was the most adult like Magic the Gathering experience I've ever heard.
Probably the worst pre-release I've had in a string of recent bad pre-releases.
That
Maybe I'm just
sucks.
washed. Maybe I'm not good at the game that I love.
No, sweaty. No.
It's
no.
skill issue. Point at him,
I-
laugh, and say skill issue.
I thought I could go into it without looking at any of the cards, with a clear mind, clear conscience. It's
funny.
just a core set. It's the fundamentals.
It-
What could go wrong? Turns out it's a fundamental part of Magic to get screwed on lands every single game.
You're so funny. It's so funny how you're like, yeah, I feel like it's really too much to follow. And like, so I just go in, I don't bother looking at all the cards, and like, then I get
lose.
upset. Then I get upset when I lose.
This guy, there was a time where Luke would be like, guys, I'm gonna study up for this pre-release. I'm gonna read every single card. I'm gonna read all the guides I can and win.
I remember.
Yeah, that's when I won.
Yeah. The sweat
Yep.
phase, the sweaty Luke phase, where he's like doing all the research, being like, I know it's good, I know it's optimal.
Am I washed, guys? Be honest. Am I washed?
Yes.
You don't have to be that honest.
Me, I'm not. I could still win my games.
Bro, you're not. You're so.
You're so washed,
you're
you
not-
don't
you're
even
so-
play.
You're so washed, you're not even getting in the shower.
Literally. Oh my god, damn.
Damn.
I just called him bad at Magic. You called him dirty.
I would wash. Wait, no. That means I'm so clean. I'm so
No.
washed. I'm
No,
so
no.
washed. I
You
like
can't
that's why I don't
even-
have to go in the shower.
You can't
Right,
even bring
like, I
yourself
just-
to get out of the bed. Can't even bring yourself to get into the bathroom and take a shower.
You're just mad because you lost heavily today.
No, I
Don't
left
take it
today
out
with
on
a
me.
clear conscience. I went 0-2. I knew there was nothing left I could do. My deck was gone. Half my cards disappeared.
I went 2-1 last time after not playing for months, and I had not really any good cards at all.
I also went 2-1. That one.
Yeah.
I
Why didn't you go this time?
Well, as I explained,
Mm-hmm.
game 1,
Skill
man screwed. Game 2, lose the mirror. Game
Skill
3,
issue.
lose to equipment. Game
Skill
4, lose to same equipment.
Skill issue.
Luck issue, anything.
I think this is a great example of why some of my favorite Magic the Gathering memories are going to pre-releases with my friends.
Yeah, and we could have made so many more memories today, Eric. Isn't that right?
I napped all day.
You guys ever funny in your dreams?
I mean, are you?
Well, here's the thing. I don't really remember my dreams very often.
Okay.
But the other night, I don't know what's been going on with me, but I've been dreaming a lot more than I usually do. And I've been like remembering
Okay.
when I wake up.
Yeah.
And like a couple weeks ago, last week, I was so fucking funny in my dream, and when I woke up, I couldn't remember what I had said, and it was just so tragic.
Dude, I've got bad news for you, man.
What is it,
I
Tubba?
don't know if you were that funny, man.
If you're funny,
if you're
I was
funny,
funny.
if you're funny to yourself, does that make you funny?
you got to be your own biggest fan, man. That's important.
I do agree. I do agree with that. If you can make yourself laugh, that's
Would
great.
you rather be funny to, mildly funny to everyone, or just funny to yourself? But like
Probably-
everything you say is really funny to yourself.
I definitely the first one, because if
Yeah, the
you're
first one.
just funny to yourself, if you're just funny to yourself, you're just crazy. You're
I think you probably have a DSM diagnosis if you're
Yeah.
the second option.
yeah.
Oh man.
I think that
then-
would be really funny.
Then you're constantly mildly funny to yourself as well. 'Cause
That's
you're mildly
true.
funny to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm already really funny to myself too. So maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
I respect into both.
Mm. That's normally a good thing. You should be funny to yourself and to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm funny in my dreams too.
Oh my goodness. I also don't remember my dreams, but I don't think I've ever been like funny.
Well,
In my
it's the
dreams.
difference between you and I, Tyler.
That's true. That's true. I think as a last like Magic the Gathering note, I feel like if anyone is interested in playing Magic the Gathering and they haven't, Foundations is actually a really great set to
go
play.
0-2.
To go 0-2.
Actually 0-3 because I didn't play my third game.
Right. To go 0-2, if you leave an event, your rounds count as a loss, so you basically went 0-3, right? Like 0 wins, 3 losses. And
Yeah.
I think Foundations is actually a really, like, I was looking at the set, I think it's a really cool set for Magic the Gathering. I think it captures the essence of Magic, and I think it's really, Magic is more accessible now than it ever has been before. You can play it online from the comfort of your home on Magic the Gathering Arena, like kind of like a Hearthstone version of Magic. You can go to your local game store and play with people socially. Like, I think there's still so much good about Magic, and I think for a lot of people, like, this Universes Beyond stuff is capturing that joy that, like, Eric kind of mentioned when he first started playing. Like, there is a lot of joy when you first start playing, and then it's about, like, the phases of your life and when you choose to interact with the game and that joy. All right, Wizards of the Coast, please pay us. Thank you. #ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I gotta go install Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh no, I gotta go find where the Minecraft card you got me was.
Yeah, you better, man. You better.
I honestly, I might just buy a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alrighty, lads. Was real.
Good to catch up.
Yeah, good to catch up. I feel like we should play Magic more. No,
Yeah.
no, okay. We should just hang out more
You
instead.
back for Thanksgiving have a box of foundations.
I'm not coming with the box of
Honestly,
foundations.
if
so I'll be back.
if you're coming back home on the giving of the thanks,
Yeah,
we could.
we could. We should.
I've got the box.
We should.
Oh, you do have a box. You weren't
I have
kidding.
a box. No, I'm not kidding.
Let's do it. Let's
right.
test how stable our foundations are.
Sounds great.
Mine are better. Mine are better than Luke's.
Not going 0-3 this time.
Not going with it. There's no way. No way. It would be so
No
unlikely.
way. No.
All right. Good catching up with y'all.
Catch y'all next time.
Yep. Peace.